What is going on, FA Nation? John Impemba here with Howard Bender. Welcome to the Fantasy Alarm NFL DFS show. It is week 2 of the NFL season here, Howard. We had a pretty successful week 1 of the NFL DFS season when it came to your watch list, our coaches, articles, the playbook, the example lineups, the dartboard had some hits. Your contrarian and bargain videos were awesome. So we're looking to keep it rolling here. Week 2. Another successful week, and it starts right here with the NFL DFS show.
Yeah, listen, nothing better than having a good start to the season because, week 1 is always one of the tougher situations there because you don't have a whole lot of data. And we had 8 new head coaches, 16 new offensive coordinators. So there's definitely a lot to sort out. Yeah, your playbook was fire. I love that. Your examples were fantastic, and I'm ready to go. Like, me, man, like week 3 is like our sweet spot.
Yep.
But like, if we're going to keep taking steps forward here, we're looking for a really nice week number 2. So I'm ready if you are.
I'm ready. We'll bump into it right now. The quarterback position starts us off here. Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, 2 guys that weren't on last week's main slate because they kicked off the season on Thursday, are your top 2 price starters here. Anthony Richardson, Dak Prescott, and Kyler Murray, you're above 6,500 tier. I'll blow this up a little bit more so we can take a look. Where are you this week when it comes to spending up at quarterbacks? Obviously, Anthony Richardson, 27 fantasy points last week, all really on the ground. You had the 2 long touchdown passes, but under 50% completion percentage, gets the Green Bay matchup. Are you looking to handle any of these plays this week here, Howard?
Yeah, first and foremost, was it you or Coop who said it to me? No, it was about, because it was a quote from Denny Carter, who said, "Can't feed my family with air yards."
Yeah.
Right? If I have to hear one more person talk about 67 yards for, air yards on that pass for Anthony Richardson, I'm going to lose my flipping mind. Like, it was great. And he's doing something he's supposed to be doing. I'm happy to run it back with Richardson this week. He was in the watch list for sure. I think that, it's a great solid matchup for him. Green Bay might be a little deflated having lost Jordan Love. I know that there was talk. Matt LaFleur, the head coach, tried to sprinkle a little fairy dust on it and hope that that Love would be coming back for week 2, but I don't think that's going to happen at all. Yeah. I think you're going to see a lot of 3 and outs, and I think you're going to see a very tired Packers defense this week. So I definitely am happy to roll it back with Anthony Richardson. Listen, I think the matchups for Jackson and Mahomes are rock solid as well. You'll probably get both of those guys at lower ownership than you'll get at Anthony Richardson, but I still think that they're both in play 100%.
Yeah, I wrote up both in the DFS quarterback coach here this week. Obviously, the ceilings, I think, for both are pretty high. I would expect a better performance out of Mahomes this week at home against Cincinnati versus them having to deal with the Ravens' tough defense last week. My lone worry here is more so like, do the game script kind of take these guys out of it? Lamar Jackson had to be as good as he was against Kansas City and Mahomes last week. I don't necessarily know if they're going to have to be that good against Las Vegas. I could see them jumping out to a little bit of an early lead, and then it's the Derrick Henry show the rest of the way. So maybe in cash games, I'm looking at a Mahomes, or a Jackson because they have sort of their individual ceilings. I think Mahomes more in tournaments, I think, than Jackson this week because I could see a spot here where you get 3 early touchdowns out of Mahomes in like the first half of that game because since his offense still isn't ready to go here. T. Higgins still not at practice. You saw Joe Burrow, the stories all week about him constantly flexing his wrist during the Patriots game. We don't know if that throwing hand is at 100% yet. So, since he can't move the ball, now they're going into Kansas City. This could be an early game for Mahomes to score as well. So for me, tournament, Richardson for sure, and Mahomes, I think Jackson could be a cash game play if you're looking to spend up. The next tier is where it gets interesting because we got some high game totals. We have Prescott at home. We got Kyler Murray back at home. We have Goff against Tampa Bay at $6,400, and that Detroit Tampa Bay game has a 51.5 total on the week.
Really kind of interested with the way that this Dallas-New Orleans game is going to go because we know that New Orleans wants to run the football. We can talk about Kubiak and Dennison and what it did for Kamara last week. Mm-hmm. Dallas has struggled against the run at times, so it could slow the pace down. Here's the thing. I know Marshawn Lattimore's questionable, but I believe he is expected to play. If you've got Marshawn Lattimore on CeeDee Lamb and you float some safety help there because Lattimore's not what he used to be, you're forcing Dallas to beat you with Brandon Cooks. You're forcing Dallas to beat you with Jalen Tolbert. Jake Ferguson's out, out. I mean, I don't think, again, more wishing dust thrown out there about these MCL sprains. Oh, he'll be back. Yeah. We'll first put a 3 to 6 week timetable on it, but when push comes to shove, we'll just tell everybody that we expect him back in a week. So on that one. Listen, I worry about that with Dallas. I worry about the limited weapons. And I look at this game here and I'm actually going to take the Saints plus the points. Because isn't this just so Dallas?
Right.
To come out firing and win that first game against Cleveland. They beat them so handily. Now they're home. Yeah. This is what happens when they're home. So I worry about Dak Prescott. Kyler Murray, yes. Against the Rams, I think that this game turns into the shootout that we saw with Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I'm perfectly fine utilizing Kyler Murray in this matchup, especially for the rushing upside. Jared Goff, I'll use him against Tampa Bay as well. Tampa Bay their defense didn't get tested all that much because Jaden Daniels just wasn't ready for it. But we know it's a run-first offense here in Detroit, but it opens things up. I do not expect Amon-Ra St. Brown to get shut down again. And I think that, when you also have Sam Laporta and Jameson Williams, to me, it gives Goff a really good floor. And so I'll use Goff as a cash game play for sure.
Yeah, I like this spot as well. The Jameson Williams play is going to be a guy that I have in my lineups this week. Even if it's just a one-off, he's cheap. We saw the explosiveness of it. I talked about this as well. This is a guy that a couple years ago was taken in the first round. Had 1,500 yards in his final college year towards ACL at the national championship game, but still was worthy of that first-round pick. He said some things obviously slow him up, but finally healthy. They talked all offseason how great he looks. First game, boom. Speed, hands, changed his route tree. Dan Campbell talked a lot that they wanted to change his route tree and make him not just a guy that runs downfield, that can run across the field as well. And look what happened. Touchdown, right? Runs across the field, uses that speed of his. So kind of changes the dynamic there, I think, for that offense if they want to throw the football, because Tampa Bay still has a good run defense. That's still going to be, I think, a little bit of a tough challenge for them. Detroit's going to certainly run the football, but that may be a little bit of a tougher test constantly. Your track play this week is Jaden Daniels, though. Home debut, going up against the New York Giants, a Giants defense that just had nothing going against Sam Darnold last week at home. Rushing upside was all there for Daniels. Also completed those 71% of his passes, which is a reason why I think we should be a bit more maybe excited about what Goff could do, because we know they're going to try to take more shots throwing the football here. But he was efficient throwing. You don't need a lot of passing yards. We talk about this all the time. If he gives you 200 yards and maybe a score, but he's going to run for 80 and another 2, he's going to be the top scoring quarterback every week. So absolutely love Jaden Daniels here at home against the Giants. And most tournament lineups are going to have him in there. And he's a quarterback that you can just play naked, right? You try to stack with Terry McLaurin last week. How did that work out for you? It didn't. You just play him naked, right? Why stack a receiver with a quarterback that you're only hoping throws for 200 yards? Right. So
isn't that what we saw last week, right? Naked Josh Allen win the Millie Maker.
Naked Josh Allen won the Millie Maker. Yep.
So
certainly did. Where else are you looking in this mid-tier range?
Stafford for sure. On the opposite side there against Arizona. Not a whole lot of travel involved here. So we saw Arizona. They gave up it was 220 passing yards to Josh Allen. He ran some stuff in. I know Stafford's not a threat to run it in, but we saw him gel back with Cooper Kupp again.
21 targets.
And then you saw 7 targets for Demarcus Robinson, 7 targets for Tyler Johnson. So he's ready to, what's that?
Colby Parkinson had 6 targets as well in that game.
Yeah, it's so funny. I'm not as in on Colby Parkinson as everybody else is. There's just something about him. I'm just not 100% in there with him. I love Cup, obviously. And then I love, Demarcus Robinson, because I think that he's that calming veteran presence opposite Cooper Kupp. And I like utilizing him for sure. So Stafford, I'm definitely in on there. You and I talked a little Baker Mayfield. You're concerned about Detroit's pass rush.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that just inspire Mayfield just to get the ball out a little quicker? Chris Godwin, shorter A dot for Mike Evans, but he's still a tough receiver in traffic.
Listen, I love Chris Godwin for the same reasons we just saw Cooper Kupp get 21 targets last week and tear apart Detroit secondary, because Detroit secondary is still not very good. That is the way you beat the Detroit Lions. You cannot run on them. Their front seven is very good, but they're also an elite pass rush. As we saw the Detroit get to Stafford at times last week, and the Rams have a better offensive line. At least, early season expectations are they have a better offensive line than what Tampa Bay is going to have. So I do have some worry that pass rush could just swarm Baker Mayfield, and he doesn't give you 289 and 4 scores. He might give you the yardage, but maybe those 4 scores are 2 touchdowns, 3 picks, or sack, fumble loss, and things like that. I'm definitely. I am fine in tournaments. I think I'd more so rather take a shot on the receivers and Evans and Godwin by themselves than bank on another big Baker Mayfield game. He also struggled on the road last year. Get him away from home for whatever reason, even though this is going to be in a dome. He just did not perform as well away from Tampa Bay last year. So, those are my concerns. He could go out there and throw all over them because that's where their weakness is. But that pass rush certainly could give him some trouble, I think. So
you are the Baker Mayfield whisperer, so I will not go against that at all. Okay. Further down, I can't get behind Aaron Rodgers yet because need to see what he's going to end up doing. Yeah. Trevor Lawrence has a tougher matchup here against this Cleveland secondary. I think they're going to be a little bit more fired up than what we saw against them. I kind of look through it here and towards the bottom. There's really not a whole hell of a lot that I like that I want to invest in. You can go back to Justin Fields, but I'll tell you flat out, man, every single year happens every year. Denver at home, early season. They either win it outright or they cover that spread and the other team struggles because they can't deal with the altitude.
Yep.
So you can Justin Fields all you want. I am not going to use him at all.
That's fine.
Nope.
Listen, I only put him up there because of the price. He's $5,400, and he has the same rushing upside that could go out there. If he runs for 100 yards, he's going to pay off the price tag. But we did also just see this Denver defense go out there and pretty much shut down Seattle's passing offense, right? DK Metcalf had nothing going. They'll just take away George Pickens, and then they have nobody to throw the football to on that team. Freiermuth maybe could get some things going here, but I think this is going to be a very run-heavy game for Pittsburgh, which would be the only reason why I think maybe there's some value here. When we get to Najee Harris, I like Najee Harris a lot this week. We just saw Kenneth Walker just said run all over this Denver defense. So you run some RPOs and get some things going here. It could be an 80, 90 plus yard rushing day from Fields and pays off the $5,400. Are you testing Daniel Jones here?
I mean, I put him into the watch list just to kind of check it out. I haven't seen, a whole hell of a lot was going on in practice. I probably would not utilize Daniel Jones, but Malik Neighbors I would definitely be intrigued by, and we'll talk about that when we get to the wide receivers. But with every quarterback that we've mentioned right now, John, I don't really think it's necessary to go this far down. I don't need to talk about Bo Nix. I don't need to talk about Sam Darnold or any of these guys. I just don't have a whole lot of usage for any of them.
I agree with you.
Although Gardner Minshew, 5,100, I threw him into the old DFS bargains, and I'll tell you why. This Ravens defense is a solid defense, but losing Mike McDonald as their defensive coordinator and seeing some of the changes that they're doing in coverage packages, the loss of Patrick Queen in the middle of that field, I definitely think that this is where Gardner Minshew could actually find some success. I think that, I think they're going to struggle to cover Brock Bowers at the tight end position. Baltimore had some trouble with not just Travis Kelce, but with Noah Gray also. right? 7 catches for 74 yards for the
Yeah.
Chiefs tight ends collectively. And we didn't see Kelsey targeted a whole hell of a lot. So, I look at this and, Minshew's always, he's always got that potential to run one in himself. We know that he likes doing that. But I think with Devontae Adams and, our good friend Brock Bowers, I think that there is potential here for Gardner Minshew if you wanted to do like a GPP tournament lineup.
Sure. I like that he completed the 76% of his passes, and I love the 33 pass attempts. We just didn't get a lot of much else, right? He had the touchdown, he had the 2 turnovers with the interception, the fumble loss. There's 4 points there. So maybe if he doesn't do those, you're looking at 16, 17 fantasy points there, and that's definitely doable at 51. They're also, I think it was 9.5 point road underdogs in this one as well. So, playing from behind, forcing the throw. I don't think Madison or White going to run on Baltimore. So I'm fine. I'm fine with that. And he's cheap enough so you can get that stacking in, like you said, with Adams and Bowers. Running backs here. Obviously, CMC, we don't think he is going to play, right? They haven't officially ruled him out. I saw a report from PFFs with McCaffrey saying he's like ready to go. I don't know if that was real or not, but
and right before that, I saw a report saying that San Francisco was actually considering putting him on IR.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Kyle Shanahan, man, the dude's a liar.
The
dude's a liar, and he railed Jordan Mason, because I don't know if you were watching that game, but what happened was after the game, the reporter said, "When did you know that you were going to be starting?" And he was like, "Maybe Friday." And then he comes back with the post game press conference, and he said something about like, this is why he doesn't like talking to the media because he gets in trouble. Blah blah blah. Dude, you flew out your family to come watch you start, and this is what we get. So I can't believe a word coming out of San Francisco. And Kyle Shanahan, you're a piece of crap, and the fantasy community hates you.
This has been going on since that Patriots game like 4 years ago. Remember when they didn't tell us who the running back was going to be that day?
Yeah, because he told the beat writers not to write about JaMychal Hasty.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Unbelievable. All right, so we have Taylor, Hall, Etienne, and Kamara as your top 4 guys here. Listen, Breece Hall, Jonathan Taylor, they all these guys looked great. Kamara looked great. Taylor feels like he's got the best matchup against Green Bay. You saw Saquon Barkley tear up this Packers defense. Malik Willis being the quarterback could see some just quick drives for Green Bay where Indy's got the ball right back and maybe in favorable field conditions. So if I'm picking one to spend up, it's Taylor for me this week, but I have no real qualms. Etienne's probably a no-go against Cleveland, but Hall, Kamara, both of those guys are perfectly fine this week.
Yeah, Tennessee definitely has a tougher run defense. They had a tough run defense last year. They didn't really do anything to change that. So, I guess that's it's a nice situation there for Breece Hall. But yeah, I agree with you. Taylor's the number 1. Kamara would probably be second. I like that. I do like Pacheco. I definitely like Pacheco, and I like Kyron Williams, but we talked about it before. This could be a big, big game for Derrick Henry.
Yeah, this is what I'm feeling here in this spot against the Raiders. Again, we just saw them, with J.K. Dobbins ran all over them last week. Now, Harbaugh came out and said we didn't sign Derrick Henry to give him the ball 30 times, but I also think that is going to be game dependent here. Justice Hill did get a good amount of involvement in that game against Kansas City, but they needed him on the field the way that game was kind of going. If they get out ahead with a lead, it's got to be Derrick Henry getting the football to close this game out, especially with Lamar Jackson missing practice this week due to general soreness because he ran for 100 yards and took some hits. I don't think they're going to risk their quarterback. I think they'll give that football to the running back here in Derrick Henry. So cash games for sure in tournaments. Price is right here. Home matchup against the Raiders. Give me Derrick Henry in all my lineups this week, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I like Josh Jacobs. I put him into the contrarian corner because looking at projected ownership, I think it had like less than 6%. He started off the game slowly against the Eagles, but then he finished with 84 rushing yards. He caught 2 passes for 20 yards as well. They're going to have to lean on him, I think. I mean, you've got Malik Willis there, and I get it that Malik Willis is a rushing quarterback, but you do not want to keep the ball in Malik Willis's hands. You really don't. So I think you're going to have to lean on Josh Jacobs here. And if I can get him here at 6,500 on DraftKings, I think he's like 7,000 on FanDuel.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly fine utilizing a very underutilized, underowned Josh Jacobs. I like him, and I do like Connor as well. I just think Connor is just an underrated running back as is.
Yeah, I mean, Connor was one of my flag plants this year. If you guys want to go back and watch our flag plant show, we're I'm 1-for-1 with James Conner here.
One for one.
One for one.
Look at me go.
Listen, the Jacobs ownership to me makes sense because Malik Willis being such a bad quarterback, Indy's just going to sell out to stop the run. So unless Willis can make some sort of plays to make them respect the actual pass, I think you're going to see stack boxes here, expecting RPOs, expecting Jacobs to run the football, and he's going to have to, earn a lot of those yardage. Hopefully they can use him in the passing game a little bit. I feel that same way going back to Breece Hall. He had tough run defense, but he had 6 targets and 5 catches. So if they're willing to throw him the football, they can make some plays there. This whole tier kind of has similar vibes. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs, usage in the passing game, has some explosiveness. I know you're not a Rachaad White guy, and I know you even have a massively exploding TikTok on Bucky Irving right now. What are we at, Howard? 50,000 views now?
We're over that mark. I'll go to the old
current TikTok update.
I'll go to the old TikTok update here on the Bucky Irving video. Yeah, I totally dig that, man. I love that. I love the support from everybody. Yeah. We're at 52,000.
52,000 views on Bucky Irving there. You talked about the inefficiency, and 2.1 yards per carry. He also had 6 catches again, Howard. Then this is where his fantasy value is going to live until they take him off the field. I mean, he had a ton of catches last year. He's a huge part of their passing offense. Sure, maybe as if Irving can make more plays in the running game, that just takes him right off the field more. But in a full PPR format, like DraftKings here, if White's going to keep getting 6-7 checkdowns here, especially in a spot where I think the pass rush gets to Mayfield.
If he continues to get that many targets, don't forget Bucky Irving played at Oregon, where they were super check down happy over there. Bo Nix just kept dumping it off to him. Sure. 87 catches in 2 seasons for like 700 plus yards. That's, at the collegiate level, that's actually really good for a running back whose, job is to take it between the tackles. Usually he was definitely catching a lot of passes there over the last 2 seasons. So listen, all I'm saying, I get what you're saying about Rachaad White, and you can utilize him here on DraftKings because it's full point PPR format. But, this is a guy who is definitely in danger of losing his job. He is not efficient. Mm-hmm. And, listen, I'd rather look at, wouldn't you just rather pay up $100 and get James Conner in your lineup? Yep. Or $200 and get Jacobs, $300 and get Jahmyr Gibbs?
Sure.
Hell, I'd rather pay down and get Aaron Jones going up against San Francisco, and I don't even think that's a good matchup.
I was going to say, well, what are your thoughts about the guy above Aaron Jones and Ramondre Stevenson? I mean,
if he's going to get the volume,
25 for 120. I mean,
this is it's like the perfect example, right? When you talk about Rachaad White, completely inefficient on the ground, but yet last year he was a top 5 fantasy running back because of the volume. If Ramondre Stevenson is going to see 20 carries per game, then I don't see why not. Now the question is what's the game script going to look like? They were playing from ahead the entire time against the Bengals. So you hand the ball off to Ramondre Stevenson on the regular. But does this passing attack for Seattle, does it gel here in week 2? Does it give some fits to New England? And do the Patriots fall behind? Therefore, where is Stevenson as far as his volume?
Yeah, listen, Geno Smith, not looking. I mean, he had the Cinderella year 2 years ago. Last year was a down year. This year, obviously, they didn't really get much going last week in the passing offense. What if he's just turning into just being another guy? And if he's going to be just another guy, the Patriots defense is still very good. I mean, that was expected going into this year that Gerard Mayo was going to have this unit ready to go. They got Christian Gonzalez back. He allowed 1 catch Jamar Chase. They got the good corners there with both Jones back there to kind of deal with JSN and Tyler Lockett. And Keon White, the reason they traded Matthew Judon is because White was ready to go. He had 2.5 sacks last week. So, they're home debut, Seattle cross country. I think we could see New England play ahead here and Ramondre Stevenson getting the work. So I like him in cash games, $6,200. I think you could go there. Thoughts on Pollard and Ford and some more guys in this 5K range?
I actually don't mind Jerome Ford here, especially after seeing just how crappy Deshaun Watson looks. I think you need to hand the ball off a little bit more. So, and I'm fine with that against the Jacksonville defense. I think that they're, still a work in progress for sure. So, and Pollard against the Jets defense, I think the Jets defense has to really turn it out this week. It was just such a lame duck performance against the 49ers that I think that they need to step it up a little bit more. Unfortunately, that comes at the expense of, Mr. Mayonnaise, my boy Will Levis. But, listen, I knew that they were going to have a tough part of the schedule here early on for Tennessee. So I'd probably go Ford over Pollard. Just in the just based off of these matchups, and then I'll look further down, right? If Singletary can get the volume against Washington, I think that that's a possibility for sure. We talked about Najee Harris. I think Najee is in a really good spot at 5,500 for sure.
20 carries last week for Najee Harris. The Jalen Warren's still not 100%. Obviously, Fields kind of running that RPO style offense here. And Denver, struggling against the run dating back to last season. Are you buying or selling J.K. Dobbins at 54?
I'm going to buy right now. Absolutely. I think, again, Carolina is not a good run defense. They have a lot of work ahead of them. They need to really kind of, figure out what their identity is. But, I think the strength for Carolina is in their secondary as opposed to, their run defense. So I'll buy on Dobbins. I think that, again, Harbaugh and Greg Roman, they want to lean on the run. So I think we're in a fine spot there. I don't hate it.
Your chalk play of the week is Jordan Mason.
Yes, it is.
Do you think he is able to replicate 28 for 147? What's your baseline here?
Give me 16 carries, 85 yards, and a touchdown. That you give me that, and I'm okay with that. I think that, Mason had, that was the workload. How many times did we have to hear the announcers being like, oh, he hasn't touched the ball this much since high school?
Yeah.
Right. Like 80 times they were saying that. So listen, I think that if McCaffrey's out, I think Mason is definitely that guy that you want. And Minnesota's, Minnesota's run defense looks great on paper right now, statistics wise, but it's because they faced the Giants and it was Devin Singletary and it was, the game script was all messed up. So I think that Jordan Mason definitely can run against the Minnesota Vikings, and I think that they'll run them hard here.
Yep, I agree with you. I think when they get in the red zone, he should have had two. Obviously, with Deebo Samuel there running the end around there in the red zone. So I'm with you there. I think it's just encouraging they gave him the 28 carries because they don't really have a backup running back. Their backup running back is Deebo Samuel, right? They didn't bring out Isaac
Guerrero. He played a little bit, but I think he also got banged up again.
Yeah, so they don't really have a true guy there behind them. So encouraging on the volume that you got there. Is there anybody else at running back that you would give a shout for this week?
No, I'm looking as we go further down there. I'm not ready to start investing in any of these $4,200 running backs here. There's nobody's really set themselves aside as a big pass catcher. I'm not going to buy into Jaleel McLaughlin.
Okay. Yeah, I largely agree with you. There's just too much inconsistency. You mentioned Irving, obviously, is $4,900. If you're a believer in him, eventually taking sooner rather than later taking over, then there's that play. But nothing else there.
Bucky Irving is still just a stash in season-long formats. I am not ready to commit to him at all for DFS.
Okay. Wide receivers. Your top guy, CD Lamb, is at $8,800, but at 76, you have Cooper Kupp and his 21 targets. So do you just ride Cooper Kupp now until he's the top price guy, or is no longer healthy enough to?
Oh yeah, you have to, man. You have to. Listen, again, I worry about CD Lamb. I'm going to worry about Jefferson against the 49ers. And, listen, as much as I love Amon-Ra St. Brown, show me his target target distribution first. I think he'll have a perfectly fine game, but yeah, why not spend 500 less on Cooper Kupp, who is going to see 25 targets in this
20 targets right away. He was immediately just old Cooper Kupp. So
yeah,
$7,600 too cheap. This tier in general is good though. Obviously, Mike Evans 2 touchdowns last week. You beat Detroit through the air. It's how you can attack them. Garrett Wilson, him and Rodgers were connected, until the end of that game, really, and they had just struggled offensively. He's 71. Marvin Harrison, everybody saw the highlights. He was open on that final drive. They just didn't get him the football, and I think that's been highlighted enough this week, Howard, that they didn't get Marvin Harrison involved enough that they're going to make it a point to get Marvin Harrison Jr. involved this week. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, listen, I think that, again, Marvin Harrison Jr. is a guy you're going to throw into a GPP tournament lineup and just hope for the best. I need to see, him get targeted regularly. Sure. I just want to see him and Kyler Murray on the same page. He's a guy who just needs to show me something here. How many times have we seen a rookie come in and crap the bed?
Mm-hmm.
Xavier Worthy looked great. Brian Thomas Jr. looked great. We just didn't have a connection there with Marvin Harrison Jr. Show me there's a connection there first. If I'm a multi-lineup player in DFS, then I'll make sure that there is some exposure to Marvin Harrison Jr., but he's not going to be on, tops on my board here at all, especially when I see that he's, more expensive than Rashee Rice and Deebo Samuel. I mean, come on. That's like he did absolutely nothing, and yet he's ahead of Deebo, Rice, Pittman, Ayuk, Olave. Come on. That to me, it's a little bit of a joke.
Yeah, the algorithm's obviously taking a little bit of a time to adjust, I would say. When I started lineups this week, the first thing I did was plug in Deebo Samuel and Cooper Kupp. I like both of those plays here. Again, Deebo, the fact that they even got the work in the running game, 8 carries, had the touchdown run, but also had 9 targets in that game here. They're going to need somebody to sort of help without Christian McCaffrey, in the lineup. They ran some of those routes to him in the flat. They ran some wheel routes with him. So I do like Deebo here against Minnesota at that price. And yeah, Rashee Rice is going to be the #1 target in Kansas City this year. You want to pivot down for tournaments. You got Xavier Worthy, did the most of his opportunities, had the end around touchdown, had the long touchdown catch there. Only 3 targets though, so had to be efficient with his work. And then Chris Godwin here, 8 on 8, 83 yards and a touchdown. We just talked about Cooper Kupp in the slot, getting 21 targets against Detroit. Well, Chris Godwin's going to be set up to pretty much do the same thing. Will he get all those targets? Probably not, but he's going to have a really good chance to be successful.
I think he's definitely going to have a good chance to be successful, and I'm definitely in for that. 100%. $6K for Godwin, that's totally fine. $100 cheaper. I like Malik Neighbors. I really do. I get it. Again, another high-end rookie wide receiver who didn't turn out in week 1, but, Benjamin St-Juste. We talked about this with Mike Evans last week.
Yep.
Benjamin St-Juste is a terrible, terrible, terrible cornerback. Terrible.
Yeah, this is 5 catches, 66 yards. He wasn't a nobody, right? Like he wasn't Marvin Harrison Jr. He actually put up some production. So, I'm with you there at $5,900. A good spot against Washington, really bad defensive team. Into the value range, any names that you'd be willing to take some dart throws on here?
Any value range?
Yeah, under 6K guys here.
At the wide receiver position, listen, let me see if I could say it properly here. McConkey Tonk, Badonkadonk. Yes, there it is. I like Ladd McConkey as a cheaper option for sure. What is he like? $4,900?
Yep.
I like that. Demarcus Robinson at $4,000.
Yeah.
Like why? Like I mean, I'm perfectly fine using Demarcus Robinson at 4K. I think that is a perfectly fine spot to use. Brandon Cooks at 56. That's probably the range you were looking for, right? Weren't you?
Well, no, I mean, I think that's fine going any value. I mean, I don't think there's like a ton of standout plays in this 5K range, honestly. I mean,
Okay.
Cooks had the touchdown. He had a lot of touchdowns last year. Christian Kirk is the number one receiver. Cleveland, we know, is a bit of a tougher defense, but I'm not sold. Jamison Williams would have been the one guy here, and he's now popping up on the injury report as well, trying to see what exactly the reasoning is. Ankle limited. I mean, hopefully he's fine, because I think he's a big play guy, and I think Tampa Bay's defense secondary wise can give him some big plays, skewed a little bit by the fact that they just played, Jaden Daniels on a team that's not going to throw the football a ton, but Goff is going to throw, and I think Jamison Williams can make some big plays here. So $5,300, Jamison Williams would be a guy that I would target in this 5K range. But if you're looking under 5K, yeah, Ladd certainly looked good. I tried to talk Coop into Brian Thomas Jr. last week. He was a little skittish on the rookie. He had a big day. A lot of talent there. What they're going to be focusing on some other guys there in Cleveland. Rashid Shaheed was in the dartboard.
Yeah, baby, dude. How great. So this is, your first year. Now you've subbed in on the playbook for me before. Yep. So you've done it before. But this is the first year that you are master of all things playbook and dartboard. When Rashid Shaheed caught that touchdown, and it's just like it's one of those like immediate scoring things where you're like, boom. How'd that make you feel? Were you brimming with pride? Did you have a big old Kool-Aid smile on your face?
It's great because like what the analysis on that play was like last year, this guy it was like 6 games where he had a catch of 40 or more yards. He's just a big play guy. And I'm like, in a full point PPR league, that means at minimum, you're looking at a 5-point catch at a guy that was under $5,000 last week. I think it was $4,400. Like you're getting a 5-point catch. And if he scores, you hit bingo. Boom, right away. 60-yard touchdown. I'm like, there he is. He doesn't have to do another thing all day long. But, and Coop has talked about it in his target report article that's out there. The Saints offense consolidated snap counts. They use the tight end. They use the fullback. The 2 wide receivers on the field, Rashid Shaheed, Chris Olave. Shaheed's out there is like 70 or 80% of the offensive snaps. He's going to be out there. They're going to take multiple shots downfield. And what do we talk about with Dallas? Now, I know that they're going to have what's his face there on Olave. What's their top corner? Diggs on Olave. He's the one that bites a lot of times on these big plays, but Shaheed on the outside, he could get loose and they're going to take some shots on him. So he's live every week for that 50-yard touchdown catch. The Dorcher Chamber, someone that I had in there as well. 8 targets for Greg Dortch. You and I talked about this on the Sirius XM show, liking Michael Wilson. He was fine. I thought it might have been Zay Jones. He ended up being suspended. And Dortch is their starting slot guy. 6 catches, 8 targets. Kyler Murray has history and familiarity with Greg Dortch here. Mm-hmm. He's not going to excite you, obviously, the 47 yards, but volume is king in PPR formats. In that final play of the game, they did throw to him over Marvin Harrison Jr. in the end zone. So could have had some more upside there. Anybody else for you, Cheap? You mentioned Demarcus Robinson. How about the other receiver there?
Tyler Johnson?
Yeah, Tyler Johnson. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could. You definitely could. Am I going to, be in on that? I'd rather use Demarcus Robinson at 4K just because, it's, again, veteran presence, and he's already got that rapport with Stafford. It's kind of funny. Demarcus Robinson, he took that contract Coop and I were talking about. He brought up, he's like, why did he sign so quickly? And, he could have had so much more money. And I was like, yeah, he could have for sure. But, I actually don't, I respect the fact that he was like, I love what's going on here. Yeah. I'm an injury away from being the number 2 guy. So I'll stay here and just, work it out with these guys. So yeah. I'm perfectly fine using him in there. Okay. If you want to look at some like other dart throws there, obviously a lot of people are talking about Jalen Tolbert. Maybe they line CeeDee Lamb up on the outside and Tolbert in the slot, and maybe Tolbert gets to see Alontae Taylor. I think that's always a nice situation to pick on. But
what about Lazard? 9 targets.
I know. Listen, I'm up in a bunch of season-long places because what I said before the Jet game, I was worried about the fact that I was like, we were talking on the Fantasy Alarm Show about guys who didn't practice in the preseason and what are they going to be like in week 1 and are they going to struggle? And I started talking about that with Ayuk. And then I was like, but then, Aaron Rodgers didn't play, in the preseason games. And what's his health going to be like? And will Rodgers just turn around and be Aaron Rodgers and just fall back on his safety net, which is Alan Lazard? I was talking to Bob Wischusen from ESPN, who does play-by-play for the New York Jets. And he was actually the guy who first said, he's like, don't sleep on Alan Lazard in your drafts. He definitely looks like he could be the number 2 target behind Garrett Wilson. So poo-poo to Mike Williams, yay to Alan Lazard at 3,300 could be a huge bargain for people.
Yeah, Mike Williams played 8 snaps in week 1. Now, we knew he was going to be limited. They said he was going to be limited coming back from the ACL, but 8 total snaps for Mike Williams. Alan Lazard, $3,300. Definitely think you have to give him a look there. Tight end. Brock Bowers, rookie, came out, looked pretty good. Obviously, sit there right down the mid tier at $4,400. He is in your contrarian video for this week. If you spent up last week at tight end, you were pretty disappointed in the outcomes. Nobody really came through. Obviously, the question I'm getting a ton of this week is, do you play Isaiah Likely over Mark Andrews? Do you play him over George Kittle? Where do you go?
I'm not doing it. Listen, I get it. They ran a ton of 2 tight end sets. Mark Andrews wasn't healthy. Now it's another week in the books, and he's better. He got into a car accident 2 weeks before the season started, and he wasn't right, and he wasn't ready, and he didn't practice, and it was a struggle. You throw in 2 tight end sets, that's great. Are you going to be looking for Likely over Mark Andrews? No, I don't think so. So as much as I like Isaiah Likely, I'll use Likely over guys like Hunter Henry or Juwan Johnson or Zach Ertz or Tyler Conklin. But I'm not going to utilize him. Maybe I'll even use him over Freiermuth, but I'm not going to utilize him over Kelsey, Laporta, or McBride, or, Kincaid's not on this slate. So you don't have to worry about that. But yeah, I mean, I like him, but I'm not loving it.
The current report that just came out here, Howard, Christian McCaffrey's seen participating in practice today.
Okay.
We will see if Christian McCaffrey, even if he's active, he can't be the same guy, right? He's got to be limited to some level.
It's Achilles tendonitis and it's a calf issue.
How many times does that not turn into a torn Achilles?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Like, people are talking about trading Jordan Mason in season long, and I'm like, just understand this. If McCaffrey comes back early and pops his Achilles, Jordan Mason is the number 1 running back for an elite offense. Like, why do you want to sell him for Keon Coleman?
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. So are you spending up at tight end then here this week? Do you like any of these top matchups?
I'm probably not spending up because I do like Brock Bowers a ton. I really do. Like I said before, no Patrick Queen. The defensive line is the biggest asset there. And I think that, the middle of the field is definitely going to be exposed, especially with certain coverage packages that Baltimore's running out there. I like the fact that he saw, 8 targets in the last game. I think that Minshew will continue to look for him as the lead target behind Devontae Adams. So I do like Brock Bowers a ton here, and at 4,400, it's a nice little bargain spot. Listen, Laporta, Kelsey, McBride, go ahead and use them. I'd use them more in GPP tournaments than I would in cash games, right? Because we want to see what's going on, because obviously defenses are going to be focused on them. Mark Andrews, I might use in both, but only because he's only 5K.
Yeah. Yep. That's fine. I think a pivot down could be Andrews. I think you're going to see people be plugging in Likely into their lineups after, chasing some of those points there. Tight end has continued to kind of be a weaker spot. Juwan Johnson had the touchdown last week. Foster Moreau, he had a head injury. I don't know if he's in protocol or if he is good to go. He's down here. He's questionable, limited due to concussion. If Foster Moreau is out and you get all of the Juwan Johnson snaps at tight end, I think that's a pretty decent spot for him here.
Yeah, I agree. At least until Taysom Hill lines up as a tight end.
We know it's going to happen.
Screws you.
And then I know you said you're not as high on him. I like Kobe Parkinson. I actually drafted him in leagues, in best ball and a couple of redraft leagues. It's just like a last pick tight end pick. They paid him. There was some talk in the offseason about how they liked and planned on utilizing him. And then the injury just kind of opened up opportunities for 47. I know it doesn't jump off the page, but at $3,100, you're going to get 9 points from your tight end. I'm good here.
If I can get that kind of, production, sure, you take a shot at it. Arizona traditionally not great against the tight end until they shut down Dalton Kincaid last week. So,
was that them shutting down Dalton Kincaid, or was that just the offense and Josh Allen not like ready to go?
I don't really know. Josh Allen found 10 different pass catchers in that game. So, again, it's going to be, how much are they going to utilize the tight end? I know he saw some decent targets last week, but, are they going to continue that front there? I mean, they phased out the tight end over the last couple of seasons, in Tyler Higbee, but maybe that was more Higbee than it was Parkinson. I don't know.
Gesicki had 3 for 18. He also dropped the touchdown that he could have had. Still no T. Higgins. He's kind of calling it out as a sense of like they're going to throw. He's on the field a lot. I got nothing else down here. Are you?
Dude, everybody's in on Jordan Akins. Okay. I'm looking at like projections for ownership. I'm laughing my ass off about that. Like, go ahead, use Jordan Akins. I'm totally fine with that. I actually do like Greg Dulcich.
Okay.
The Steelers were not good against the tight end. They gave up 4 catches for 40 yards and a touchdown for Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
And their backup tight end caught 1 pass. So, listen, I think that Dulcich does portray himself as a solid pass catcher. And, one of the things that you look at with this Pittsburgh defense, they are all about rushing the passer, right? And what's the best way to neutralize TJ Watt? Little dump offs to the running back, little short passes to the tight end. So I'm kind of in on Dulcich here just because he's also 2,900.
Yeah, he's super cheap. 67% of the offensive snaps there in week 1. I'm checking to see. He had 40% of his snaps came from the slot, which is what we're looking for. 62% route participation. Maybe that could be a little bit better, but you got to love them lining up in that big slot spot there. So I don't mind it. I mentioned Hayden Hurst. What are your thoughts here? 2 for 30.
I think Hayden Hurst is fine if you want to just kind of punt the tight end position there. I think that he, will see some work. I think he's fine. Again, it's Carolina. It's not a great team. So, I mean, I'm okay with it. Again, it's like, do I really want to, if I want to pay down, I'll pay down to Dulcich.
Sure.
And, because I like that. And then I'll, but if not, then I'm just going to, I'm really leaning into Bowers this week.
Does Schoonmaker step in for Ferguson?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Don't talk to me about those stupid Cowboys.
Okay. I'll
Maybe he does. Yeah. I mean, listen, I think that I think Schoonmaker would be that option. Sure.
Just, you know how involved Ferguson is in the offense. So just wondering. All right. Defensive plays here. Being the homer I am, I've just plugged the Patriots in at $2,800. I mean, why not, right? Sacks, fumbles. Their defenses, we surrounded them all last year. Their defense still comes up and makes turnovers and makes plays. $2,800 for them. I definitely like the Patriots here. Where else are you going? What's your number 1 defense this week?
Well, I mean, listen, I like the Jets defense against Tennessee. I think Will Levis still has a little ways to go for sure. Chargers defense against Carolina. I think that's going to be pretty chalky for a lot of people. And I'm okay with that as well at 3,400. I love the Colts defense going up against Malik Willis. I think that is very much in play for sure. And then, yeah, I mean, listen, if you're going to go down to the Patriots, I'm going to go the same price. I'm going to look at the Denver Broncos against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Because again, I think that, we forget about the fact that the altitude affects players tremendously early on in the season. And I think that that they can turn things around and kind of, cause some Justin Fields turnovers because he just doesn't have any weapons. Like you said, put Patrick Surtain on George Pickens, and where else is he going with the football?
He's got nowhere to go. They're just going to run the
nowhere
football.
to go.
No, I like that. Obviously,
Calvin Austin Jr.
They had 2 safeties last week. That's pretty rough.
I know. How crazy was that, huh? Shout out to our friends over at Loser Ball.
Yeah, exactly. Loser Ball can get your pick the teams, the 3 teams you think will be the worst in fantasy this week, and go win yourself a jersey of the quarterback that is the worst. Is that
well? All right. So here you go. And for those of you who don't know, it's a really fun contest, and it's totally free. Go to loserball.com. Right. And then, yeah, like John said, you pick 3 teams who you think are going to be the worst. Now, the scoring is all sorts of crazy out of whack. Like Seattle, super popped last week because they got hit with 2 safeties. Yeah. And that immediately is like negative 500 points. Right. So there's some weirdness to it, the whole thing. The winner last week got the jersey of the quarterback with the lowest QB rating, and that was Bryce Young. So the loser got a Bryce Young Panthers jersey. This week, dealer's choice. You pick your own jersey. If you win, you get your own jersey there. So do yourself a favor. Go to loserball.com. It is 100% free. Sign up. Join the Fantasy Alarm contest. And just pick 3 teams that you think are going to be crapalicious.
Love it. All right, let's get our lineup going. I'm plugging in.
I already got a lineup going for you.
Oh, then man. Let me see what you got working.
See,
last week you didn't have a lineup, but that we were building one together.
I know. Well, you shook me when you said you're like, did you build a lineup? And I was like, oh no, I'm sorry, I didn't. Don't hit me, Johnny. Don't hit me again.
What do we got here, Howard?
All right. Well, this is my my Johnny Impemba special lineup.
Okay.
All right. So give yourself some Jaden Daniels.
Okay.
Get yourself some Derrick Henry.
Man.
Now you could go with your boy Ramondre, but I'm just gonna say James Conner because you planted your flag in him.
Okay, Conner. I thought we were going Jordan Mason there.
Oh yeah, we could do that.
We'll see how this lineup plays out.
Well, you just said CMC was back at practice, so now we don't know.
Well, we don't know. That's true. All right, what do we got?
James Conner, Cooper Kupp.
Okay, Conner, Kupp.
Get Godwin in there.
Godwin, I like that.
Throw your boy Shaheed.
Shaheed down at 46. Okay.
Throw your boy Bender a bone here and use Brock Bowers.
Brock Bowers, all right, in the mid tier.
All
right, so we got Bowers. Why can't I not find? What is
4,400, Johnny? 4,400.
Defense. We going Patriots?
No, flex that up with Jameson Williams, baby. I know you love him.
I do. It's fine. I'm too zoomed in. It's throwing me off here. Jameson Williams was
5,300.
53. All right, Jameson Williams. We got now $2,800. I'm assuming this is Patriots.
There you go, buddy. I mean, you could use the Broncos too, but you want to use the Patriots, whatever you want to do.
And you could pivot Williams to Mason because you have the money there. It's 52 to 53. So if you wanted to, if CMC gets ruled out, you can make that swap and get Mason in there. So
there you go.
I like it. You got the naked Jaden Daniels, the only way to play him. Derrick Henry, James Conner, Cooper Kupp come back, a little stack there, right? A little one way or the other in the game stack. Godwin and Williams obviously stack each other. Shaheed, Bowers, and the Patriots defense. Howard, this is definitely a lineup that I would not be too surprised gets into one of my 3 max contests this week. That is for sure. So we appreciate you all tuning in here. Make sure you check out your 7-day free trial. I think that's going away this weekend, Howard. So if you go to fantasy.com/win, sign up for either the monthly or the annual subscription, you get that first 7 days for free. So you take it now, you get access all the way from this week and into next week's content here. certainly come join the family. All of our premium products, our Discord, access to it all here for free for 7 days. That's fantasyalarm.com/win. And we appreciate you guys tuning in. Hit a like, hit that subscribe, hit that follow. Leave us a comment. Let us know who your favorite plays are this week in DFS. If you have any DFS questions, drop that in the comment section. Myself and Howard will be happy to answer those for you as well. Howard, any final thoughts here as we get ready for week 2?
No. Listen, I think we're locked in. We're dialed in. I feel better about this week than I did last week. I felt all discombobulated because of the move and all the stress and everything like that. I have been laser focused here on fantasy football. I'm set. I'm ready to go, and let's get it, baby. Let's tear this. Ooh, I almost said a bad word, but let's tear it up.
Let's get it going, everybody. Good luck again this week. Make sure you listen to the Fantasy Alarm Show on Sunday morning with Coop and Benner to get you ready. Then myself and Andrew Cooper, 11 to 12 on Sunday, answering all your start-sit questions right here on the Fantasy Alarm YouTube channel. We'll see you then.